You're doing everything right. You wake up early. You grind. You push past your limits. You stay focused, disciplined, and hopeful, always hoping that eventually it'll pay off. That eventually you will break through. But every time you look around, it feels like someone else is already living the life you want. Someone younger, someone lazier, someone with half your effort but twice your reward. You see them online, posting from penthouses, driving the dream, building legacies before they've even figured out who they are. Meanwhile, you're struggling just to keep your head above water. And the worst part, they make it look easy. You're doing all the right things. And still, nothing. No success, no recognition, no freedom. Just a loop of effort with no exit. And you start to wonder, what am I doing wrong? Why does the world reward people who barely try, while I drown in the grind? Maybe the problem isn't you. Maybe the game is rigged. Because what if success has nothing to do with this life at all? What if the playing field was tilted before you ever took your first breath? What if you're not failing? You're just on your first life? Because once you understand what system you're really in, everything you've struggled with starts to make terrifying sense. In this version of reality, life isn't random. It's not chaos, not pure luck. It's structured like a game. Every person you've ever met is a player, and many of them, they've been playing far longer than you. You don't see their save files, you don't see their history, but it's there, buried beneath their skin, carved into the muscle memory of their soul. Because in this world, every life you live adds XP. Every struggle, every heartbreak, every win, every mistake, it stacks, quietly, invisibly. You don't remember your past lives, but they remember you. That kid who radiates confidence at age 6, he's not a prodigy, he's a veteran. The 20-year-old who builds $1 billion empire with ease, she's not lucky, she's leveled up. You see the surface, charm, intuition, genius, but beneath it, reps, lifetimes of it. This world rewards evolution. It tracks growth like a system logs points. It doesn't care how much you suffer. It cares what you learn. And once your soul hits a certain threshold, your starting point improves. You're born into stronger families, with healthier bodies, quicker minds, more stable environments. It's not about being better, it's about being earlier. Some souls start life on hard mode, others walk into easy mode. And if you're watching this, struggling, breaking, clawing your way through the mess, it might just mean this is your first real run. You're not weak, you're not cursed. You're just early, because in this game, new souls don't get cheat codes. They spawn with broken homes, with low self-worth, with mental illness, with poverty. They don't know why it's so hard, but they keep going. And every time they survive something they shouldn't have, they gain XP. Not in this life, not always, but it carries forward. And someday, they'll be the ones others envy. Not because they were lucky, but because they endured. And when they finally start life on easy mode, they'll carry the scars of every war they've fought in silence. Because once you understand how the game works, how XP is earned, and progress is hidden behind the veil of reincarnation, the struggles of your life start to look like something else entirely. In this world, reincarnation isn't mystical. It's not spiritual poetry or religious metaphor. It's infrastructure, mechanical, systemic, engineered, and most people don't even realize they're inside it, because the system is designed to be invisible. Every time you die, the system logs your entire life, not just what you did, but how you reacted. It records every choice, every emotion, every recurring pattern, not to judge you, but to measure your evolution. Because this isn't a morality test, it's a feedback loop. You don't get punished for being bad, you just get looped, repeating the same level until you learn what you came to learn. And every time you break a cycle, every time you grow where you once collapsed, you gain XP. Some souls earn it through creation, through building, inventing, expressing, some through love, deep, difficult, transformational love. Others gain it by surviving absolute chaos, abuse, addiction, grief, war, mental illness. The more XP you accumulate, the more you evolve. And once your soul crosses a threshold, you're born again, upgraded, not with memories, but with essence. You come back with innate qualities other people struggle to develop: unshakable calm, magnetic charisma, fast learning, inexplicable wisdom. These traits aren't trained in schools. They're carried over. Soul memory doesn't show up in your thoughts. It shows up in your instincts. You've seen it. That person who walks into a room and seems to own it. That kid who picks up instruments like they've played them for lifetimes. That leader who seems to read the room before a word is spoken. That's not luck. It's programming. And the truth is, you've probably felt the difference. Maybe you've met someone who makes everything look effortless, who seems 10 steps ahead while you're still trying to understand the rules. That gap, it's not a gap in talent, it's a gap in time, because they've played before, and you're still learning how to be human. They're building empires, you're building a foundation. And the worst part? No one tells you the game exists. You grow up thinking everyone starts at the same place, that your struggles are personal failures, that your confusion is weakness. But it's not. You're not broken. You're new. You're a first lifer. And while others are on chapter 50 of their soul's development, you're still on page 1. The system hides this truth on purpose. Because if you knew, if you really understood that this life was just one round of many, you'd play differently. You wouldn't chase shallow validation. You'd seek deeper growth. You'd stop comparing your beginning to someone else's climax. But even though you can't remember your past lives, your body does. Your gut does. Your fears, your flashes of insight, your odd skills that came from nowhere, those are echoes. Hints from the system. It's why you sometimes feel like you've done this before. Why certain moments feel scripted. Why pain keeps repeating until you finally face it. The system is watching. Not like a god. Not like a prison warden. Like a teacher. It sends the same lesson again and again until you stop avoiding it. Skip the assignment. You get it next life. Just harder. Avoid accountability. It shows up again. But this time, in someone you love. Heal yourself. You break a generational curse. Forgive someone who ruined you. You earn XP you'll never consciously remember. But your next life will start lighter. And every decision you make now, every breakthrough, every healed wound, every act of kindness no one sees, it's all being logged. Not to judge you, but to shape the next version of you. Because this isn't just life. It's a campaign. And the ones who fail forward, who suffer with awareness, who love without guarantee, they're the ones who return stronger. Not to win, but to evolve. But what happens when someone has already evolved? When a soul has lived dozens, maybe hundreds of lives? That's when the game looks completely different. Because they don't start at level 1. They start with upgrades. You know these people. You've seen them. They walk into the world like it already belongs to them. They don't hustle. They glide. They don't guess. They know. Everything they touch seems to work. Ideas stick to them. Opportunities chase them. And when they fail, the world softens the landing. It's not just talent. It's not just connections. It's something else. Something you can't explain, but you can feel. They're not starting where you started, because they've been here before. These are the high-level souls, the hidden elite. Not because they're rich, but because they've reincarnated well. They've spent lives failing, growing, evolving, and now they're playing with upgrades you can't see. Perks you don't notice until you realize you've been fighting uphill, and they were born at the summit. We call it privilege, we call it luck, but in this system, it's something deeper. They earned those starting conditions, not in this life, but over lifetimes. They were once you, once struggling, stuck, lost in early level pain. They went through abandonment, betrayal, poverty, grief, and they came back, again and again, until the system shifted, until the trauma resolved, until the loops broke. And now, they walk into life with spiritual momentum. They're born to parents who see them. They grow up in safe homes. They go to schools where their talents are nurtured. They have confidence wired into their DNA, not because they were told they're special, but because their soul already knows it is. You see them build billion-dollar companies from a dorm room. You see them charm audiences without trying. You see them fall in love, get support, take risks, and win. And it feels unfair, because it is. But not in the way you think. They're not cheating the game. They've just finished the part you're still playing. And some of them don't even realize it. They don't remember the lives it took to get here, but they carry it anyway. In their intuition, in their instinct, in the quiet confidence that tells them, you've done this before. And you feel it when you're around them. Not jealousy, but something stranger. A flicker of recognition, like your soul remembers standing beside power like this, or maybe being it, because the system doesn't just reward pain, it recycles it into power. And the only reason you're seeing people so far ahead of you is because you're not them yet, but you could be. One day, someone will look at you the same way, and they won't see your sleepless nights. They won't see your generational pain, your daily resistance, your private rebuilds. They'll just see the flow, the grace, the light, and they'll whisper, "They make it look so easy." They won't know that you once clawed your way out of a life like this one, the way you're doing right now. Because what looks like natural genius is sometimes just persistence recycled across centuries. What looks like privilege is just XP paid out in new currency. So no, this isn't about being better. It's about being farther. And the truth most people never realize. Even the most graceful soul had a first life, a life like yours, a start full of suffering, confusion, and wondering if anything would ever make sense. So if you're in that place now, if you feel behind, invisible, cursed, remember, they once did too. You're not losing, you're learning. And they didn't skip the hard part. They earned the right to leave it behind. But before you can earn ease, you have to survive the phase that breaks most people, the early levels, and that's where the real pain begins. You've probably felt it. That constant, crushing resistance. Like life is pressing against you, blocking every step forward. Like you're swimming through wet cement, while others sprint across smooth ground. You want more, you try harder, but the results never match the effort. You feel exhausted, isolated, broke, not just financially, but spiritually. You start to question everything. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I'm broken. Maybe I was never meant to win. But what if that feeling of being stuck isn't failure? What if it's programmed into the early levels? Because in this system, first lifers are dropped into chaos. There's no tutorial, no map, no gear. You spawn into dysfunctional families, in broken neighborhoods, with inherited trauma you never asked for. Your life starts like a glitched out game, bugs everywhere, support nowhere. You're not taught how to thrive. You're not even taught how to survive. And somehow, you're expected to figure it out, to break cycles no one has broken, to love people who never loved themselves, to build when you were never given tools. This isn't a test of success, it's a test of endurance. And that's the trick the world never admits. The early levels are brutal. They're meant to be, because they don't reward performance, they reward depth. You don't gain XP through wins, you gain it through survival. Every moment you don't give in to despair, XP. Every time you choose healing over hurting someone else, XP. Every time you show up, shaky, tired, unsure, but still showing up, XP. And the system tracks it, not with points or badges, but with momentum. You don't see it, because it's underground, rooted deep in your soul. But it's there, loading, building, waiting. Your suffering isn't invisible, it's just delayed compensation. You won't always be able to measure it in this life, but that doesn't mean it's wasted. The world won't clap for you. No one gives you a trophy for choosing therapy over self-destruction. No one hands out medals for breaking generational habits in silence. But the system sees it, and it saves it. It converts your heartbreak into future strength, your rock bottoms into wisdom, your loneliness into compassion so deep, it changes everyone you'll meet next time around. You're not stuck, you're downloading, building inner code, strengthening your spirit. Because in early levels, there's no external progress, just internal upgrades. That's why it feels like you're moving through fog, because you are. And when the fog lifts, in this life, or the next, you'll see what you've built. Not on the outside, but on the inside. Clarity, grit, discernment, kindness, depth. The kind of soul that others will one day call wise or powerful or magnetic, but never realize was forged in complete silence. No applause, no recognition, just quiet progress. The kind only the system sees. So if it feels like you're crawling, falling, drowning in resistance, you're not cursed. You're early, and you're doing better than you think. Because once the system sees that you've endured enough, suffered enough, grown enough, it unlocks something most players don't even know exists. Your first true level up. You've been taught that success means proof, a title, a bank balance, a number, a follower count, that the only way to know you're doing well is if everyone else agrees. But the system doesn't care about that. It doesn't care how famous you are. It doesn't track your income, your likes, or your resume. Because it's not measuring achievement, it's measuring alignment. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you level up, but you don't get a notification. There's no sound effect, no fireworks, just a quiet shift, a feeling, the tiniest weight lifted from your soul. And most people miss it because they're too busy chasing rewards that don't register in the real system. But the system pays attention to the moments no one else sees. Like when you choose to forgive the person who broke you, when you admit you're struggling instead of pretending you're fine, when you choose to stay open to love even after it shattered you, when you say no to the shortcut and yes to the truth. That's what the system logs, because that's what builds real power, not the performative kind, the rooted kind, the kind of power that can't be taken from you because it wasn't given to you by the world. You earned it alone, in the dark, when no one was watching. And here's the twist: the people you admire, the billionaires, the influencers, the ones who seem to have it all, they might not be earning much this round. They could be coasting, using the upgrades from past lives, but not choosing growth in this one. And the system doesn't punish them, it just pauses them. Because without challenge, there is no evolution. So they maintain their level, but they don't level up. Meanwhile, the soul who wakes up and chooses not to repeat their parents' pain, XP. The addict who relapses but returns to healing, XP. The artist who creates, despite rejection, doubt, and fear, XP. The single parent, the caregiver, the survivor, all earning silent power, all upgrading behind the scenes, because that's how this game works. It doesn't reward perfection, it rewards present. It rewards honesty, awareness, stillness, compassion. You're not here to win this life, you're here to wake up inside it. And the moment you stop trying to keep score is the moment the system starts stacking your XP at exponential rates, because now it knows you're not chasing vanity, you're chasing transcendence. And the greatest XP in this game, it doesn't come from trophies, it comes from the moment you decide not to pass your pain onto someone else. It comes from the choice to feel instead of escape, to stay instead of run, to love even when there's no guarantee. And when you do that, when you evolve past the version of yourself that would have crumbled, you don't just gain a level, you change your next starting point. You may not see it today, but one day, in another life, you'll feel it like a tailwind, like clarity that appears at just the right time, like peace that doesn't make sense. That's not random, that's a gift from the version of you that's alive right now, the one who chose growth when they had every reason not to. And when the system finally recognizes that shift, when it knows you're no longer surviving just to survive, it unlocks something rare, the flow, and with it comes your first glimpse of what a high-level life really feels like. There comes a moment, maybe in this life, maybe in the next, when the game feels different. You still breathe, still move, still work, but something has shifted. The friction is gone. People respond to you differently. The world doesn't fight you the way it used to. Doors open without you asking. Ideas click before you can explain them. You speak, and others listen. You act, and things unfold. It doesn't feel like luck. It feels like flow. And that's because you're no longer carrying resistance. You've stopped fighting the path and started walking it. This isn't about having it all figured out. It's about alignment. The system has watched you suffer, stretch, and stumble without giving up. And now, it's rewarding you. Not with money, not with status, with momentum. Your instincts sharpen. Your energy strengthens. Your clarity arrives faster. You begin to create not out of need, but out of truth. You'd stop asking if you're enough, because you know you are. You feel it in your bones. You're no longer chasing, you're attracting. You don't fake confidence, it's woven into you. You don't search for a purpose, it speaks through you. You start noticing weird things. The right people show up. The perfect words come out of your mouth before you even think. You get invitations, insights, downloads, seemingly out of nowhere. But it's not nowhere, it's now here. Because you finally reach the level where the game shifts, where the system gives you a new role, not just a player, but a guide. Because the version of you that once drowned in confusion, someone else is living that story right now. And when they cross your path, the system nudges you. You'll feel it. You'll know you're supposed to say something, offer something, be something. Not to save them, but to remind them they're not alone. That this pain isn't the end. That they're not cursed, they're just early. You're not there to pull them out. You're there to leave clues, just like someone once did for you. This is what high-level life really looks like. Not luxury, not applause. Peace. Not the peace that comes from having no problems, but the peace that comes from knowing who you are within them. And then it hits you. You're not suffering anymore. You're not questioning your worth every day. You're not replaying trauma on a loop. You're living, creating, giving, flowing. You're not playing to survive. You're playing to serve, to lead, to leave light behind for the souls who still think the game is rigged. You've become the person you used to envy, but not because life got easy, because you got real. And realness is the ultimate upgrade. The system trusts you now because you stopped resisting the life it gave you and started becoming the version of yourself. It was always guiding you toward, but no matter how aligned you become, no matter how powerful, peaceful, or free you feel, the system has one final mechanic, one rule you never escape. And when it hits, everything resets. You've made it, you've found the flow, you've stopped fighting the game and started mastering it. Your soul feels calm, your choices feel aligned, and then you die. Just like that, no warning, no countdown, no achievement screen, just darkness. And then, a wail, a cold light, a hospital room. You're crying again. New body, new name, new life. No memory of who you were. No idea what you've already survived. Just a vague sense of disorientation and longing. That's how the system resets. Every death triggers a full wipe. Not as punishment, but as part of the design. Because if you remembered every breakthrough, every heartbreak, every evolution, you'd skip the work. You'd cheat the challenge, and the game wouldn't mean anything. So it makes you forget. You lose the storyline, but not the essence. The wisdom stays. The instincts stay etched in ways the mind can't see. The soul keeps the scars, and that's why you've always felt a little strange. Why certain people feel familiar. Why you have fears that don't make sense. Talents that seem to come from nowhere. Attractions, repulsions, memories that don't belong to this life. That's the ghost data, the soul echo, the memory beneath the memory. The system deletes the files, but not the framework. It strips your history, but not your alignment. You return with new circumstances, new tools, new obstacles. But the mission, it's always the same. Evolve. Learn the lesson you avoided last time. Break the pattern you repeated too many rounds. Heal what you once ignored. And if you don't, the system loops you. Different face, same failure, different city, same trauma, different language, same core pain. Until one day, you notice, you pause before reacting. You ask a new question. You say no to what you've always said yes to. And in that moment, you don't just change your life. You change your level. Because that one flash of awareness, that moment where you break your soulless autopilot, can earn more XP than an entire life of surface-level success. This is not a game of riches. It's a game of remembrance, of rediscovery, of rebuilding who you are from the inside out. And the further you go, the more the system whispers. In dreams, in déjà vu, in the quiet moments that feel too cinematic to be coincidence, you are meant to wake up. But slowly, piece by piece. Because if you remembered everything all at once, the entire experience would unravel. So you're given clues, nudges, tiny moments of wonder that pull you forward. And when you begin to follow them, the game changes. You start playing with intention. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What's the system trying to teach me now?" That question rewires the level. Because now, you're not a victim of your pain. You're a strategist inside it. And that's when you realize, this isn't chaos. This isn't punishment. This is training. You're inside a simulation that only gets deeper the more you grow. And when you look closely enough, you can almost see the code. And now that you understand the system, now that the veil's been pulled back, there's only one question left that really matters. What will you do with this life before it resets again? If you've made it this far, something in you already knew. Something beyond logic, beyond motivation. A quiet part of you has always suspected. This life wasn't the whole story. That your suffering had a reason. That your struggle wasn't random. That the gap between you and those who made it isn't just about money, timing, or luck. It's about time, across lives. Because you're not failing. You're just early in your evolution. Early in the system. early in your infinite run of lives, and that frustration you feel, that weight in your chest, that tired, exhausted. Why is this still so hard? That's not weakness, that is echo, the echo of a soul that knows it's capable of more. Even if this body hasn't caught up yet, you may never become rich this round, you may not become famous, and maybe, just maybe, you weren't meant to. Not yet. Because the most powerful souls didn't start at the top. They started like you, confused, angry, wounded, alone, and they climbed through lifetimes of grief, loss, betrayal, silence, failure. They climbed until they didn't need to anymore. And when they stopped climbing, the world mistook it for privilege. But you'll know the truth, because now you've seen behind the curtain. You've felt the weight of the real scoreboard, and from here forward, you won't ask, why am I behind? You'll ask, what kind of soul am I becoming? Because that's the only thing the system remembers. And when you start focusing on that, on healing, on growth, on alignment, your level rises, slowly, quietly, but undeniably. And maybe your next life will be easier. Maybe you'll wake up with peace in your chest instead of pain. Maybe the mission won't be survival anymore. It'll be service, creation, leadership. But none of that happens without this version of you. The one who kept going, the one who fought the invisible battles, the one who never got the credit, but earned every XP point in silence. So don't give up. Not now. Not here. Not in the middle of the mission. Because this is the version of you that makes God mode possible. If this hits something deep, that's not random. Your soul recognizes truths your brain forgot. Maybe this isn't your first life. Maybe you've been here before. Maybe you're leveling up without even knowing it. So here's the question. What level are you on? Comment below. Are you just getting started? Or are you already ancient? And if you know someone who's struggling right now, someone who feels older than their age, who carries pain they can't explain, who's searching for a reason to keep going, share this with them, because they might just need the reminder. They're not broken, they're becoming, and every failure they've endured, just XP. So like, comment, subscribe, and remember this life isn't the final round. It's just your next mission. Make it count.